What an amazing full moon that we're going to experience on February 24th, hooked up to a kite that can bring success and goodness to each of our lives. Is kind of like where we need to find something that actually works, something that actually looks like it's going to be thrival or success or a happy ending after a time of difficulty that began in each of our lives on September 14th when we had a new moon in Virgo. So this full moon brings fullness and goodness to what we seeded back in September collectively and individually. In today's video, we're going to talk about how this moon affects you based on your sun, moon, and rising sign. Sun is father, father figures and career. Moon, mother, mother figures, home, safety, and body, and the nest. But of course, your rising sign, guys, is the most accurate. We'll also spend a little bit of time reflecting on how this moon might operate in terms of world events and what we're seeing happen in the world at large. That's called mundane astrology. There is a lot going on with this moon. We have so much to talk about. Asteroid Gonggong's in the mix. Woo! We also have the sea serpent, the water serpent, and he's very destructive. And we also have the energy of Ixion, the rule-breaking transgressor, who went beyond the social mores and norms and morality of the day to do very, very awful things. He's mixed up in this particular moon. But as well, we have the beautiful stars Deneb for showy performers, artists, and getting a really successful star diva energy going, as well as Fomalhaut. This beautiful mystical star, a royal Persian star, is also sitting with this story by conjunction to the sun. So both Deneb and this energy of Fomalhaut are active during our full moon experience. Hey guys, if you are new to my channel, I should introduce myself. My name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac, whole sign houses. And if you're new to my channel and you want to give me a try, I put out 30 or 40 videos every month, and I do live premieres, and you can meet me in the chat box while we talk about the actual content that I'm airing, and I take your questions as well. Not personal, obviously, but about the actual astrology. So here we are. Here we are together. I'm recording February 10th for my Patreon community, who gets early access and ad-free content. This is not going to be one of my longer videos. I will be doing an update video on it because of the world events that are so fast moving, but I will be going into a little bit of this world event content for you. The lunation is at 5 degrees of Virgo. This indicates it will definitely impact people who are Virgo. Okay, so you guys who need to really pay attention to this, right? Virgo and Pisces, Sag and Gemini people, with your sun, moon, or rising in the first 10 degrees of those signs, really feel this intensity of a success kite liftoff moon. Something is going to fruit and fulfill in a very positive way, not only in the 2 weeks that follow the full moon of February 24th, but also in the 6 months that follow. Because don't forget, you planted a seed September 14th in the Virgo new moon. And now 6 months later, you're beginning to fulfill the promise of that lunation. So I'm going to show you the sky, and then we're going to talk about the whole story of, the asteroids and the stars involved in this moon. But I also will spend about 5 or 10 minutes on the world events. And that's important to me because, astrology is a mirror for what happens in the world. Someone said, stop talking about the war in the Middle East, but I can't, because that's what the sky is reflecting. So if the sky was reflecting a stock market crisis, I'd be talking about that, which it probably will in a couple of months. But I need to cover what's really going on, like a newscaster casts a story into your world about what's happening in any given time frame. So I like mundane astrology. You can jump ahead, chapters and timestamps. Hit the title of the video. It'll take you to all the signs and the breakdown. Same with the timestamps that are pinned to the top of the comments every single video. So if you don't like mundane astrology, someone said my mundane astrology was too long last time and didn't care, you don't have to listen to it. You can jump ahead. Hello. If I talk too fast, slow me down with a little icon. Okay. You have playback speed choices on YouTube land. All right. So first of all, I hope you guys are witnessing what I'm witnessing. You can see a kite, right? I mean, it's a little loose, right? Because you can see a space here, but to me, it's still a kite. Kites bring success and things that take off. Yay, yippee doo doo da. And it's going to be held by the Virgo house, and it's going to lift off in your Pisces house. And we'll talk about that with your sign. This moon will be moving forward from its 5-degree perch, and the 6-degree Sabian symbol is a merry-go-round. I think that has to do with fate, the wheel of destiny, the wheel of fate spinning through cycles that repeat, but also perhaps for something positive that has to do with innocence and childhood and carefree rides that don't endanger your life. This is not like the Tower of Doom. This is not like a roller coaster. This Sabian symbol of a merry-go-round feels very positive to me. And Sabians round up, so I'm talking about 6-degree Virgo. You can see that Asteroid Gonggong, the water serpent, sea serpent, is sitting here with the sun. Now, this is an interesting placement. Saturn has been hunkered down with Gonggong since last March, and it means hardship in water. So we're going to see some world events that also increase the possibility of tsunamis, tidal waves, floods, water shortages, especially in places of war, things to do with naval warfare and difficulty there. These themes will be prevailing as a result of the 6 months that follow the full moon. But this was present here during the new moon as well in September 14th last year. So water hardships, water situations, etc. Also, and Jupiter, I mean, we had a lot, right? The submersible Titanic exploration thing imploding. We had a ferry capsized with 700 people topped overboard, refugees and stuff in Greece, the Greek waters. We had Fukushima reactor radiation water, supposedly clean, dumped into the ocean. So water hardship stories are ongoing right now in our current cycle, with trade routes being blocked through the Red Sea by Houthis who are threatening to intercede on behalf of Gaza. And so this is continuing to go forward. Water hardship. And with Mercury, commercial trade on water, Gonggong, difficulty, Saturn, hardship. At the same time, even though this moon is opposite this difficult part of the sky in terms of what I just described, it's going to move forward, oppose Saturn, but then trine Jupiter. In that order, something horrible becomes something positive. This is a story that we may see in the news cycle, Mercury, in the next 2 weeks. Difficult stories around water having a silver lining. If I could say anything, it would be that maybe the people's hearts will come together. Now, in the Archetypal Universe by Renn Butler, he talks about the energy of what happens when a Moon-Saturn combination happens and what it might mean when it's difficult, which we would call a hard aspect in astrology. And there's a haunting, haunting quote. I hope that you can vibe into what I'm about to read to you from Longfellow, who had a moon conjunct Saturn. And to me, this really speaks to what we are seeing in the world, and maybe even how we could approach the ghastly amount of calamitous death and horrific destruction that we're seeing in a particular war. How this could lead us to a place of understanding a deeper lesson in all of this. So when Mars and the moon co-join in a negative aspect, this is what we can expect, okay? This is an opposition, Moon and Saturn. Let me pull it up. Here we go. This is the quote I want to read to you. So anytime you see Moon opposite Saturn or conjunct Saturn or square Saturn, you can see compression in love or friendliness, or a compression of the people, or compression of feelings like isolation and loneliness, depression and despair. Okay. But in terms of what I wanted to read to you, if we could read, this is a quote by a Longfellow who has a Moon-Saturn conjunction, and here's the quote. If we could read the secret history of our enemies, we should find in each man's life, sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostility. Let me please read that again. If we could read the secret history of our enemies, we should find in each man's life sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostility. So there you go. Now, this is a goddess of war. Her name is Athena. Let me just annotate for a bit. She is like victory in war strategy. She's not just, knowledge and wisdom. She has a connection to war. And she's sitting here in a war sign. Yes, in ancient tradition, missiles fly, arrows fly through the air. These are Sag bow and arrows, right? And you can use a bow and arrow to kill somebody as well as to hunt an animal. So we see that Athena here is talking to us about war stories, I think, in our current life collectively. The moon, that despairing archetype opposing Saturn, the people constraint, constriction, lack of, Saturn is squashing the moon, the people. And over here, we have the Gonggong water guy, and we have Mercury, the messenger, but also commerce. And we have the sun, Saturn, And there's just sea god Neptune or Poseidon sitting there. And this is a T-square, which means it's difficult. And this is like a very make or break pattern energetically. It's very much about like something that needs to have critical decisions and actions. All squares, let alone T-squares, are the nature of Mars, the god of war himself. And to me, this is something to say, well, maybe we're going to find that this moon, as it becomes, full, and then as the next 6 months continue, is going to put us in touch with this intensification of strategy and war, missiles and weapons that fly through the air, connected to this part of the narrative. Now, the moon in Virgo is just technically looking for practical solutions or practical detail-oriented outcomes. And this moon, therefore, can be about something that we're looking for that will be a new level of practical resolution to war situations over the course of the next few months, but also as it applies to property and land. Pisces tends to represent displaced people, refugees, underprivileged, underserved, homeless, drifters and lost souls, and you'll see a lot of tension in the world from this moon, not only with what's going on with displaced peoples in war environments, but also borders, such as the United States-Texas situation with the border intensity coming through, where there's a lot of lot of connection to wanting to contain the influx of refugees into United States through the Texas border and the Rio Grande and all of that. And here we have constraint Saturn of places of refugees and displaced peoples and Gonggong, and it's intense, right? It's a lot going on for the world, and we'll have an eclipse going through Texas, making an X through Texas from the eclipse that we saw last year, now doubled down with the eclipse that's coming this April, and X marks the Texas spot. So expect Texas in the United States election, and also the refugee Texas leaky border story to really heat up in the next 6 months. And this moon tells us more about that. Finally, you can see Jupiter and Uranus are sitting here, and Jupiter wants to do something good. Those two are coming into a conjunction April 21st. That's a real big deal. And as the moon moves forward, it flows back in a trine to Jupiter. Difficult circumstances have a happier ending in the 2 weeks that follow this moon, but perhaps also emblematic of how this lunation flows out over the 6 months that follow. Your own life story is you want to be successful in your Pisces zone through what the moon is engineering in your Virgo zone, and there's difficulty followed by goodness as something lifts off in your life. All right, anything else I want to say? Fomalhaut, the mouth of the fish, and the star Deneb are both involved in this lunation. I'm going to just read the software to you, but I know most of it, but Fomalhaut is a royal Persian star, and it's considered to be very powerful and positive. And it's called the mouth of the fish. I actually have my Jupiter sitting here on the sun being reflected by this moon. I'm born with it. If you meet somebody who have a strong Fomalhaut, they're alchemists, magicians, spiritually oriented, sensitive, intuitive type folks, but they're working in the mysteries of life. They're not just on the surface, right? They're not doing surface stuff. By the way, Gonggong is a destructive Chinese water god with a human head and a body of a serpent, blamed for cosmic catastrophes. And so often you'll see this involved in like world events that we would call catastrophic, but it also is considered to be tuning into the soul of a group or the soul of humanity and what might need healing on that level. So let's look at both the positive and negative iterations. Perhaps you can bring the wounded soul of humanity a lesson plan for healing. Ixion is involved because he is sitting as well in the chart. I'm going to show you him in a minute, but with Ixion involved, he's sitting with Ceres, and he's in a trine to the moon and a sextile to the sun, creating what we call a wedge. And this is the grandfather of the centaurs. He's a rule-breaking transgressor who goes beyond the social morality of the moment, rage against God, and the refusal to accept limitations on our goals. Now, the refusal to accept a limitation on your goal, rage against God, and going beyond the social morality of the moment surely does speak to what we're seeing in what some people think is, as Joe Biden just recently said, an over-the-top response by Israel to the situation in Gaza. That's Joe Biden's words. And this is Ixion right here with Ceres, can represent land, property, agriculture, things that grow, but also she's a rescuing mother to save her daughter from the underworld. She also happens to do with the seasons of spring and summer and winter. And she's sitting here with this transgressing, rule breaking, going against social morality, Ixion Centaur. Now, if you want to consider this positive, it's a flow, right, to this lunation, and therefore maybe situations to do with Capricorn, which is the fourth house of the nation of Israel as a Libra rising, can bring resolution to difficult situations that have to do with land and homeland for the nation of Israel and the Palestinian peoples. This is the nodes of fate. And you can see that this Ixion is in a broad square to the nodes of fate, but to the eclipse that initiated the October 7th event from October 14th on the ascendant of Israel. I say over and over again, this ain't done till the eclipses stop happening in Libra, which means there's still this last eclipse in October of 24 and one in March 25th, meaning that the Middle East situation involving the nation of Israel is still playing out. Just so you know, Benjamin Netanyahu and the United States are Sagittarius rising. This is an indication to me that this Athena strategy and victory in war is about both of those characters in the story of the mundane astrology being illustrated through the fullness of a moon in Virgo. Now, don't forget, seeds were planted for what's going on here September 14th, and you can add a month right after a moon. So between September 14th and October the 7th, we're still in the orb of that new moon. We saw a war begin in the Middle East. So this full moon is the completing story of that war, in my humble opinion. Alrighty, and anything else I want to add to that about world events before we do all signs? I will be doing an update video as we see things unfolding. I did want to read to you a bit about Deneb, so give me a second to iterate the star that I was mentioning for you guys. So there's a spiritual component to the light of the sun and the star Fumalsamakah that is being shone into the Virgo part of our sky. But I also would like to mention the Deneb piece as well. I think there may be some useful information for us there. So the sun is sitting with Deneb as well. And this is the showy, operatic, artistic talent type star. It's called the star of performers. And you can do something creative with divine inspiration. Any of you listening who work in such a way that you are trying to create with divine inspiration, that you consider yourself a performer or a star of some sort, this is going to amplify success for you as it pertains to your Virgo real estate in your chart. Now, let's go ahead and let's do all signs in the next 45 minutes before my first client. I will do a follow-up video for you. So look forward to that closer to the moon itself with an update about how this is playing out for the world. Okay, give me a sec and let's do that. I'm going to stop the share for 30 seconds before I go ahead. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Check out the description box below for readings, classes. My Patreon community gets everything early access, ad-free, up to 3 meetings with me a month, and all kinds of discount codes and stuff that you won't get anywhere else. And check out my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter. Every now and then I have a promotion to pull you there. Probably I'll have one in February. I have almost 5,000 subscribers to my weekly forecast newsletter that you get every weekend with a written lay of the land and my opinions in written form of what will be going on for the world and you individually. So that's also where you get early bird access to sales and other things I'm doing through both Patreon and my newsletter. Check it out in my description box. And let's get going and talk about your sign. Also reminding you that September the 14th is the inception point for this moon, right? So things that happened then in your life, in my life, and in the world are returning. And one of the things I forgot to mention was that it was in September of 2023 that Joe Biden sat down and had a meeting, actually a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and they got together at the UN General Assembly. And it was considered a very important, long-awaited meeting of Netanyahu with US President Biden. And it was really about 9 months into Netanyahu's newest term. He was sitting down with Biden to talk about his handling of the controversial judicial reform in Israel in the preceding months, because basically there were huge protests wanting to oust Netanyahu in the Israeli populace because of his desire to basically get control of the judicial system, right? Which is a check and balance. So there was a meeting between Biden and Netanyahu in person. And I'm wondering if the new moon seated with that meeting can lead to the full moon being yet again the two leaders coming together for a tete-a-tete, a head-to-head. Because honestly, at this point, I mean, even though Joe doesn't seem to be all there, it's better than nothing, right? So that's a possibility we might see in the 2 weeks that follow this moon, or if not a meeting of those leaders, then a deep falling out with those leaders, where no longer is Joe Biden shoulder to shoulder, no red line, right? Don't forget, Ixion is that transgressor, that rule breaker, the one who like completely F's things up, because you go beyond the social mores of the time. And this transgressor rule breaker is in the part of the sky that represents the nation of Israel's property, land, and home, and whatever property, land, and home they deem that is theirs as well, even if it's an occupied territory. Yeah. It's a lot going on, right, guys? So we're going to do the all signs. And as we get ready for that, don't forget, you have your best bet is your rising sign. So I would like you to consider going to my free tutorial, how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, and down below, and then using that same process of that tutorial video. It's in my description box. You can just go grab it, that to find your rising sign, because I think you'll get the most out of your rising sign, sun and moon secondarily. All right, thanks guys. Let's get doing your sign. Okay, guys, we're going to do Aries first. We're going to move through Aries through to Pisces. I had to pause my recording and come on back, and then we're going to get back into the swing of the all signs lunar story, because we have as I mentioned already, a full moon in the sign of Virgo. Let's get started here with Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is your sky, where we can see this full moon is happening in your sixth house of work and health. Often here in the sixth house, it's what we do in our daily work routines. Do we have a desk in a home office? Do we work with colleagues or coworkers in our job space? Employee-employer stuff is in there as well. Pets and rental and tenancy agreements belong to your sixth house. Debts, legal and real, you need to pay off someone pays a debt off to you. And lastly, did I say pets? Domestic animals. Now, full moon here, don't forget, September 14th, 2023. Were you thinking of getting a pet? Did you plant a seed with a breeder for a pet? Did you work on some arrangements or agreements in September regarding leases and rentals and properties? Or did you start something new in work, a new job? Did you start a new direction in your work? Because whatever was going on there, Aries, this is the fullness coming into the sky, a full moon displaying the fruits of this particular narrative. And so you're coming to a fullness here, and some luck is following suit because of the trine to Jupiter. And so not only in the 2 weeks that follow, but the 6 weeks that follow, some financial expansion through some work and career opportunities are occurring. Now, this is also perhaps something that unfolds over 6 months, not just the 2 weeks that follow the moon, where you see this expansion in your finances and in your work environment. It's good for your health. A full moon is to care for your body, and your health matters in Virgo in a very precise and practical way. It's also a sign of health. And what did you seed for better health back in September that is now coming into fullness and fulfillment? As well, you can wonder if your Jupiter trine means bounteous goodness in your food style, preserving better health. Sometimes Jupiter can make us very aware of our desire for food or substances to ingest, but with Jupiter, it's also education and it's also luck. So you could be looking at some developments regarding food style, ingestion of foods, and better health. Because of this moon's sort of opposition to Saturn, who is very solid, but also very contracting energy in the watery sign of Pisces, where are you looking at this story where you might want to really buckle down in your 12th house and really get something concrete done or established in the 2 weeks that follow this, to do with foreign travel, foreign lands, and foreign shores, educational opportunities, but also things to do with revenue you make through international income, maybe because you use payment processors, maybe because you have borderless income coming to you and you do not have clients locally. You can work with people all over. If that's the case, you can increase your revenue from those sources as well, because of course Saturn is in a sextile to Jupiter, and that creates this beautiful financial wedge for you. So bottom line, hard work pays off in work and health matters regarding financial prosperity for a lot of Aries, sun, moon, and rising in the next 2 weeks. Tactically as well, you are ruled by Mars, and Mars is really busy at the time of this full moon with Venus, getting ready to tango. Cosmic lovers are actually 2 days past their conjunction at this lunation. I'll be doing a whole separate video on their conjunction. And you're looking at this kind of escalation as well from this moon, Jupiter, Saturn thing, perhaps some connection here with Jupiter squaring your Lord of your sign with a greater career gain. It can be a reputation gain. It can be a wealth gain in your 11th house of career. So something's really moving up in this part of your sky. You may have a friend with a favor, man or woman, who's rich and powerful, somehow amplifying you in the 2 weeks that follow this career prosperity work upgrade. The moon is the domicile lord of your 4th house of home, property, and real estate. This is rental agreements. This is financial abundance. A new rental opportunity may emerge for somebody who wants to, as a landlord, lease a property, or as a tenant, secure a tenancy. And those things are very optimistic and positive for you as well in the 2 weeks and 6 months after this moon, reminding you always to go back to September for seeds you planted in the themes I've outlined for you. All right, Taurus. Sun, moon, and rising sign. The sky is opening up a window here of a lunation that was seeded in September 14th, actually, last fall, in the Virgo part of your chart, becoming full. And look to this part of your sky to become complete or to bear fruit. Is this a great place for bearing fruit, Taurus, if it has to do with fertility? This can be about becoming pregnant or your partner becoming pregnant. But it's also about love and romance. And so if you want to have a fulfillment or a fruiting and a harvesting of good things in love and romance, this is the moon you're looking to do it with. It has a lot to do as well with a flow from Jupiter, saying that your own sense of well-being, your own sense of optimism and faith, and your own sense of being lucky can make you lucky in love, whether it's an existing love or a new love, lucky in fertility, pregnancy, and love. As well, your own children exist in that 5th house, and you're having some very positive vibes with one of your kids in the 2 weeks or 6 months that follow the new moon here. Let's face it, you're lucky, Taurus, between, last May and May 26, 2024. And you didn't really notice that luck as much because Venus was in a complicated retrograde, plus he also had co-joined with Rahu. So now you're going to feel the goodness of Jupiter as of December 31st to the end of May. And so you are more lucky, you are more successful, you are more optimistic, and that energy flows to your romantic partner, your children, and your creative and entrepreneurial projects. As well, there is some hardship up here, but you can harness that in that wedge to Jupiter, where Saturn feels constraint and constriction, or he brings it, but he also brings discipline, focus, and hard work to things 11th house. Now, if you have a friendship that's heavy, like you feel like you're swimming in water with rocks in your shoes with a particular friendship, that friendship may be asking to come to completion. That's Saturn in the house of friendships opposite a full moon. And you may have to bring the full moon into it because it's a house of joy and enjoyment and pleasure and play. If this friend isn't giving you any pleasure, enjoyment, and play with Asteroid Gonggong here, there's a strong possibility you want to ditch that friendship, and you may come to coming to a place of closing down a friendship or a group of belonging that no longer satisfies you, or even with an elder sibling that feels constrictive to you. You are somebody ruled by Venus, and Venus is sitting at the time of this moon in your 10th house, and she is in a flow. She is in a square to Jupiter and a flow to the North Node and Chiron. I should put that in, but I didn't. But Chiron and North Node are together here. It may be also a moon that's inviting you to believe in yourself, to trust in yourself when it comes to your career success, and for you to be able to let go of any constraints that you may be experiencing in work and career areas of your life, because Jupiter wants to bring in a bounteous amount of career 10th house success, and Venus would participate in that. So this moon might ask you to also look a little bit to the side at your career success or not, and how you might want to let go of anything that feels like servitude or too much hard work. South node in your 6th house, mostly because Venus is talking to Jupiter, who's involved in this moon that we're bringing her up for you guys. And this looks like you may square away with a difficult career problem and quit or leave behind that career problem. Again, you're sourcing yourself in joy and satisfaction. Full moon in the 5th house. I'd say, when's the last time you had any fun? Especially at work. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Get ready for a big, beautiful full moon in the sign of Virgo. Planted seeds here sometime in September, maybe mid-September to the end of September, regarding home, property, land, and real estate, or things you do in and from your home. What seeds did you plant there? This is also the house of your family of origin, your mom, and all of that childhood stuff. And so here's a full moon lighting up that part of your sky. There may be things that you're now noticing or seeing or completing in your home from this moon of the 24th of February. Add 2 weeks or add 6 months because it takes that long to fulfill. You also might notice that you have some luck here. The luck you're experiencing is coming from Jupiter, and this is 12th house fortune. This can be prosperity from foreigners, foreign places, and foreign situations, borderless income and revenue. Luck coming from behind the scenes, backroom deals and negotiations, and positivity from your inner life, spiritual life, and even your dreams at night, kind of guiding you to some fulfillment of 4th house matters. A full moon here can shed light on something that you wish to accomplish about property, land, home, and real estate. And that could even include the purchase of land, property, and real estate, or refinance of a property or something like that, as as the moon is reflecting Saturn, the ruler of your house of mortgages, banks, and refinances, or taxes. And you may be looking at situations to do with taxes as well. It's tax season as it applies to fulfillment of ambitions and goals to do with your home. You may be looking at a home in a foreign land. You may be looking at matters to do with taxes in your home and homestead during the 2 weeks that follow this moon. And of course, the 6 months that follow as well. With the Saturn about, kind of like, and discipline, perseverance, and hard work in your career starting last March, ending in February of 2026. You're working hard. You're grinding to become more expert, authoritative, and powerful and successful in a kind of mastery way in your career. But at the same time, you're working hard. This hard work, sun, a career energy, Saturn, being reflected by the moon, who loves to nest in the home, is an interesting dynamic where you may also have to deal with some constraint around the pressures of the hard work in your career space and the desire for success and joy and enjoyment or nurturance in the home. Mercury rules this moon in the sign of Pisces, and of course he is in his detriment. And so there may be a sense that your Mercury just really wants to read a book at home, write a project at home, do something at home, and yet he's so busy in that career space for you. So it's almost like a moon that says in the couple of weeks that follow, in the 6 months that follow, how can you fulfill some satisfaction about your career, but from a more healthy and nurturant aspect of how you live in your home. I don't think that Saturn up here will be anything too difficult, but I might note the square to Athena. You may have some legal matters, contractual agreements, or business partnership arrangements that need to be really dealt with to do with your career and your 7th house matters. Even legal matters to do with significant love relationships, Athena, and strategically looking at what to do regarding the home and a major relationship coming up for you in the 2 weeks that follow and the 6 months that follow this moon. And you are Mercury ruled, and Mercury, unfortunately, is in his detriment in the sign of Pisces. So be careful here in this moon that it does not reflect confusion or uncertainty about details that you need to pay attention to for a lasting and successful career path or success. So watch out for that as well. You might not see the fine print or the details that you need to pay attention to in your career story around this full moon, but it is shining a light in the home environment. So pay attention to what you want to accomplish in your home that you seeded in September. That may pull you away from career or the drive, ambition, and what do you call it? Like the grind of your career stuff. Moving forward. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. You're a lunar ruled being. Here comes a full moon in your third house. You planted seeds for this back in September 14th, 2023. It has to do with younger siblings, travel, cousins, neighbor, and neighborhood, short distance travel, especially skills-based learning and education. The online world, the moon in her joy in the third house is very powerful. It can lead you into opportunities to become very full in an online setting, in an educational setting, in a travel opportunity. And yet you were already pondering this or planting a seed in September. This full moon has got luck involved. It's in a beautiful trine to Jupiter and Taurus, connected to Uranus and your 11th house of good spirit. This is a place of pennies from heaven and windfalls, maybe windfalls coming through a sibling, some kind of career success and allies coming from an elder sibling. Siblings are all over this sky for you, elder and younger. Also, just the actualization of some success in your gains of your career, but also in your dreams and wishes and hopes for what you wish to experience in your career story. Chiron is helping you heal a career wound that's been around since 2019, and that's coming up for a big healing February the 19th. Go watch my video. But at the same time, this moon is following suit with a kind of like glow up in the career gains part of your sky. Jupiter, moon, especially if your career involves social media, writing, online world, things to do with the local neighborhood and neighbors and siblings as well. The opposition to Saturn. Okay, well, if you're in the publishing industry, that can be a traditional publisher, and this is the house of writing. And so some of you Cancers could have some lucky breaks regarding the writing and career and publications stuff. But Saturn here is also, don't forget, severe discipline, focus, and endurance, conjunct the sun. It's always a bit intense. And there's father figures that come from the 9th house. So there may be some constraint with a father figure, a superior, a boss, somebody that lords power over you. And during the window of the 2 weeks that follow the moon, maybe the 6 months as well, you are looking at kind of establishing a more grounded, lasting spiritual philosophy, perhaps, but in a way that honors the third house of the goddess. Some of you may be looking at new directions in your spiritual faith, or consulting an oracle in the 2 weeks that follows, a guide, a spiritual guide, a diviner, a tarot reader in the 2 weeks that follows this moon. I find the T-square to Athena could be really putting you at a critical turning point regarding your work routines and how you do the work you do. And you'll be making a change in that environment, making some decisions around it. Also, Cancer, you're experiencing this energy of the Lord's lunation, Mercury, sitting in his detriment in your 9th house. Now, that's not always the worst thing here. This is a spiritual, faith-based energy, spiritual philosophy. So Mercury might be giving you, or higher education. So things to do with higher education, spiritual philosophy, court and legal matters can be embedded in the 2 weeks that follow this moon. But the lunation is opposing Saturn. So where can you feel constricted about things to do with your body or your home as it pertains to legal and court matters, or things to do with foreign countries and foreign shores? For the most part, this moon favors you because it's in a sextile to you, as do all Virgo moons, new and full. So you're just going to make some adjustments in the 3rd house. Honestly, you may change your neighborhood, or you may change your relationship with your neighbors, or you may take a short distance trip that restores a sense of hope and optimism and faith, especially if it involves friends, friendship groups, or elder sibling. And you maybe plan or take that trip in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follows this moon. My sister's a Cancer rising. We're talking about a sister's trip in the summer. And that's probably for my Cancer rising sister, Nancy, who does my timestamps, something to do with organizing that trip with the younger and elder sibling energy active. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. The sky is opening up a full moon in Virgo. Why don't you go back to September 14th? What was going on then? Because this is a moon that fulfills what was begun then and may take it another 6 months forward. There's a money fulfillment here. A lot of Leos are looking at what they planted as seeds for their earnings last September that now can come into a full moon, big light shining in your earnings and resources house. Also diet and food style and things to do with your face. And now you're looking at that big full light moon in this earnings house, amongst other things, flowing to lucky Jupiter. For every Leo, it's a lucky career and money break. It looks like you could get a job, get a raise at a job, get a promotion in your job, fulfill some kind of financial possessions ideal in a job setting. Maybe you get you to possess the company car, you get to possess the corner office with the windows that you wanted, but you're getting a glow up here, and it may show up 2 weeks after, and then up to 6 months after this moon. The opposition to Saturn, it's difficulty, right? There's a wedge, means the career place is the best space, but this is like, what's going on in the house of death? Excuse me. Oh, 3 sneezes. Bless myself. It could be someone's dying. I mean, an elder, right? Solar elder, grandparent, sick in the hospital, an elder father figure, in a house of difficulty. There's a bit of that there, I'm just going to say. And this moon in the 2 weeks or 6 months that follow can lend itself to the awareness of that elder male figure in a condition of the house of death. Hang on. Also, difficulties in joint finances with a spouse or challenges and constraint around your long-term 401k stock investments and tax situations is being brought to your attention in the 2 weeks that follow this moon. You may be really pondering some new ideas, Mercury, about how to handle the long-range financial story of your life as opposed to the increase that's trying to happen in your earnings. With a square to Athena, quite a strong possibility here that you're dealing with some kind of constraint with a child as well, and it may involve money, and that constraint with a child and money and agreements and strategies is going to come to a head in the 2 weeks after this moon and in the 6 months after this moon. If you have an entrepreneurial business or a creative business, this is also looking at the financial story, like consulting, independent enterprise, and looking at the legal and financial strategy around money you make, money you save, money you invest, taxes, and independent business entrepreneurial stuff. Big on your radar in a critical turning point way. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. My daughter is one of you, and I have friends all over the Virgo map. You guys are having a moon that lights your sky up full and bright in the house of you. Obviously, it's all about you. And this is your yearly full moon. Now, this yearly full moon lights up your body, your identity, your sense of self, as it pertains to things you may have seeded or planted on the September 14th new moon. Go back and look at that date in the 2 weeks that follow. What were you doing for health, body, identity, sense of self-nurturance and self-love? And this is now moving into a lucky flow to Jupiter in your 9th house. What a beautiful placement for success in academic environments, opportunities for foreign shore travel, a glow up regarding legal and court matters working in your behalf, things to do with your religious and spiritual philosophy being strongly amplified in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow the February 24th moon. At the same time, there is some constraint in your significant marriage house. Let's put it this way. Saturn's been testing 1-2, your marriage type relationships and business partners and client base and audience ever since March of last year, March 7th, and doesn't leave here until February of 2026. So this is where you're squarely looking at this testing 1-2 for Virgo, sun, moon, and rising of a significant relationship in your life. Now, with Jupiter bringing some luck, you could say you can restore the hardship or boost the difficulties by traveling to foreign countries, engaging in joint learning, traveling, maybe getting married. I mean, Jupiter here could be the wedding proposals and sealing the relationship into a stronger form of some kind. Mercury can be the dreamy proposal to alleviate this difficulty here. At the same time, Saturn here can also, because he's testing the tires or checking for cracked engine blocks in the car, and he's constraining energy, making your partner, not you, morbid, melancholic, distant, and cold. And you may be having to look at what's going on with them. And it's not really your problem. They're communicating in a fuzzy way, some kind of depression, constraint, or anxiety, and you're having to deal with their problems in the 2 weeks that follow the moon and the 6 months that follow. Don't have a partner, fine, but don't start a new one under the sky. Maybe Jupiter makes it nice, but it still has hardship here. And Saturn is the lord of romance and sexuality for you. And you may be finding that there's difficulties in the romance and sexual part of your significant marriage relationship being brought to your attention for you to deal with and look at squarely in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow the full moon. The square to Athena is some difficulty in the home to do with legal matters, maybe contracts and agreements around rent, for example, because of Athena talking to a little mini stellium in the house of rentals, or to do with pets. So looking for critical turning point decisions around rentals and pets for you in the 2 weeks that follow this moon, all right, is something I'm seeing here, especially as it involves perhaps long-term committed partnerships or just legal agreements around rentals and tenancies, pets, etc., in the 2 weeks that follow this lunation and the 6 months. Hey Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. What a sky we have for you. A big full moon in the sign of Virgo. Now, full moon in Virgo for you is going to put the Virgo story very active from. I want you to go back to September 14th when there was a new moon, because this is a subtle place of your dreams at night, your insights, your soul work, but it's also isolation and aloneness, backroom things, bed pleasures. It's what you're doing when no one sees you doing it. And you've been like, you planted a seed here September 14th last year, and now it's fulfilling itself. So there's an illumination of the 12th. Other than people who make money from foreign shores and foreign lands and revenue from foreign places, this is mostly an inner soul work house. You may be dealing with addiction, self-undoing, and self-sabotaging patterns as well, or you may encounter some difficulty with a female mother figure in the hospital in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow this moon. Because we have Lord Saturn, constraint and hardship in the house of sickness opposite the moon, this is not a great moon for a mother figure in your Libra life. And you could anticipate potentially some challenges with your mother's health, perhaps in the 6 months that follow. This is true mostly for the Libra risings, okay? Not the Libra moon and sun. And also, because you have luck from Jupiter in the 8th house, you may have some inheritance money, sudden chunks of money, a tax rebate, some kind of bounty coming through your sky, Libra. It can definitely look very good for your long-range finances if you get this glow up from the 12th to the 8th. This is definitely some backroom deals and negotiations that can deliver some unexpected money your way, usually from a father figure with a sextile between the sun and Jupiter. Mercury's in the mix, and he is your information god, and he's talking about rentals, pets, tenancies, job, work, and health matters for you as it pertains to things that you want to accomplish in your long-range finances. Of Jupiter in the 8th house of investment, stocks, banking, finance, refinance. Because Saturn rules property and home and real estate, a few Libras are going to refinance a property. A few Libras are going to buy a property, sell a property, or rent a property out, or rent a new property. There's a square to Athena here, and it's indicating a moon in the 2 weeks that follow and 6 months that follow, with some challenges around short distance travel, younger sibling, neighbors, and some challenges maybe to do with educational settings, where you're coming into a gritty tension between work and travel, work and education, work and neighbors, work and siblings. Those kinds of matters are on your radar 2 weeks after and 6 months after this story as it unfolds over time. You're a Venus-ruled being. Venus is indeed at this lunation in a beautiful sextile to Jupiter, and this can indicate something, a square to Jupiter, and this can end at the very worst, it's excess. At the very best, it's like some very powerful luck. She's in a money luck house with Pluto for a wealth yoga connected to Jupiter in the house of great chunky money. You could look at this lunation as maybe opening a window, a bit of a window here for winning money through speculation, gambling, or getting a winning stock and going woohoo. So 2 weeks after and 6 months after, you may win some money or have some money luck show up for you. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. The moon is full in Virgo. on February 24th in your 11th house of good spirit, the house of influence, friends, groups of belonging, greater gains from your career path. All of those things will be amplified and highlighted from this moon, but you may have planted seeds for this possibility starting mid-February of 2020, mid-September of 2023 at the Virgo new moon. I could say to you, with that flow to Jupiter, there's lots of luck in your marriage. There's lots of good things happening in your significant love relationships. There's lots of good things happening in your marketplace, clients, audience space. Moon in the 11th can bring popularity with the people when it's full and with the masses. And you may have some popular appeal in something you've been working on in the area of your creativity, your art, your entrepreneurship here. So this is a wedge flowing to the 7th house of market and audience. And like, let's put it this way. If you're an artist and who doesn't want to be one, this is Saturn saying, work hard on mastering your art, right? Started last March, will be true till February. Or work hard on your entrepreneurial business, or work hard on your love and romantic life. Work hard on fertility and pregnancy. Work hard on that all the way through to February of 26 and become masterful at it. So if you've been doing anything like that since last September when we had a new moon here, now the full light shows up as fame or success or recognition or greater financial gain, as well as illuminating a fullness in the house of large groups of friends and belonging. I think that the Saturn piece here, the work hard piece, the constraint, is also about endurance. Like what do you want to create that's enduring, and what have you been working on in your creative or artistic or entrepreneurial directions that has an enduring beat to it, right? Saturn rules your 3rd house of communication and writing, any kind of writing that could endure, any kind of online work you've been doing that has enduring value has been a bit of a question mark for you. And hopefully the answer is emerging since last March. And so I think that a lot of you may be looking at this as a time where there is still a feeling of having to grind, but having some potentially exciting developments like news regarding a fulfillment of a creative project, a creative dream, and some success in the public eye. Now, Now, also, in the 6 months that follow, there's a possibility of fertility. Venus exalts the house of children here. She's with the Lord of your sign in the house of your home. And so a couple of thoughts, but one of them is for Scorpios, a possibility of some sort of some sort of fertility advancement, literally you or your partner having a conception of a child could be occurring here during the 2 weeks that follow or the 6 months that follow this lunation. If you're with somebody, if you're not, just ignore it. You have a square to Athena. She wants you to be strategic and wise and lawyerly and 3-dimensionally strategic in your earnings and money and spending and possessions house. And there is a T-square that's formed here. And it means that you need to come to terms with some kind of realistic matters to do, how to be realistic regarding pregnancy, children, love, romance, creative projects, and entrepreneurial endeavors in a way that solidifies strategic financial security in the sky. And that's going to be on your radar, so to speak, in the 2 weeks after the moon, as well as the 6 months after. Hey, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. What are you going to do with a full moon in Virgo in your career house, but have some fullness in your career house and reputation? This is going to be good for that part of you that wants to be well-known, well-recognized, and well-received by your boss, your colleagues, your peers, and your career space stuff. But you planted seeds for this fullness already last September the 14th. This is now the fulfillment over the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow this February 24th full moon. Now, at the same time, you can see that you've got luck coming from the workhouse. So luck opportunities through work and career, could get a new job, could get like a promotion or raise, get some unexpected benefits at work, maybe find out you got, a new health benefit at work. Something good is happening through work and reputation spaces for you 2 weeks after and 6 months after this full moon. I like the idea that some of it's surprising. You didn't see it coming. There's Uranus. Your health is improving because of this. And so that's also good for your health. And then, you've got this like constraint and constriction down here with Saturn in your fourth house. Sometimes you might be finding your home life to be a bit of a drag. Maybe you have an elder living in the home, or maybe just hardship in the home, or constraint, a loneliness and isolation in the home, because maybe you're working on career matters in the home. And it looks like to me that, you want to get bust out of the home, basically. So a lot of you, Sag, Sun, Moon, and Rising, are looking at a full moon that is promising you more career success and health success, and a way to maybe bust away and out of your home, your kind of isolated, lonely home experience here. I think that the square to Athena, right, is indicating perhaps you are holding the strategic answers to the work and home life balance. It's really pulling yourself more into the work or the reputation in a way that takes away from some of the constraint you're feeling in your domestic and private life. And you can be strategic, but you have to make strategic decisions and make strategic choices here. Because you are Jupiter ruled, Jupiter in the work house and health house is super beneficial to you as a result of this full moon. Maybe you get a raise or promotion or change of job that allows you to be more physically well, and to tend to your health. But I think this is definitely looking good for 2 weeks of yay you work, career, amplification, and success. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. What a sky we have here for you. You have a big, beautiful energy of a full moon in your ninth house flowing in a trine to you. You planted a new moon seed here in September of 23. Now it is becoming full. Foreigners, foreign shores, foreign land, third marriage environments, things to do with your spiritual faith and philosophy, things to do with court and legal matters, publications, book publishing, visas, and passports are all highly amplified in a positive way because of lucky Jupiter from the house of romantic love and children, house of entrepreneurial stuff, and just plain lucky things like money, luck as well. A full moon in your ninth house flowing to Lord Jupiter. Well, you could win some money in an international lottery. You could have a lovely opportunity to get a romantic foreign land getaway trip planned or taken in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow this full moon. You could have a glow up in your romantic life and your playful fun and joy and pleasure, especially as it pertains to third house marriage partners. You could do well academically in college and university settings with some superior luck because of some creative essay you wrote. These are variations on the theme. Because also you have the moon full in Virgo, right? Where she's like at the top of the sky. Remember that Mercury rules her, and he's busy in the house of trips. It looks like a lot of you Capricorns, sun, moon, and rising are coming into a travel opportunity that's quite dreamy, that can be planned or take place 2 weeks after or 6 months after the full moon. But you may have been pondering this possibility by planting seeds here back in September. Jupiter is flowing, to Venus here in a money-making house. Again, you may be looking at some financial opportunity coming off of this moon as well, because this moon is by, default connected to Jupiter, and Jupiter's flowing to Venus. So some financial earnings upgrades, some money upgrades coming here in terms of earnings as well. The square to Athena in the house of foreign far off places makes critical decisions, choices, and actions imperative regarding foreign distance, foreign land travel, foreign shores revenue, people in foreign places that can support your financial outcome. Barter and trade, international stories are picking up a storm here. Strategically, you're making some choices here to take aim, Athena, around travel plans to foreign places or business opportunities connected to foreign places. You are ruled by Saturn, and he's here, holding fort in your third house, March of 2023 to February 26, making you very serious and heavy around siblings, sibling relationships, neighbors, neighborhood, travel, trips, writing projects, online world stuff. Kind of feels weighty and heavy for you. But there's something changing here, I think, with this full moon because of that T-square to Athena. And there may be some critical turning points in some of the more heavy-weighted areas of your life to do with third house matters. Like the unbearably difficult hard work about a writing project is finally bearing some fruit in a book publishing deal, you know what I mean? Or popularity with the people on something you've written. Those are kind of, especially Athena who rules books. So anyone who's a writer who's a Capricorn may have some breakthroughs in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow regarding writing projects and publications. I'm an Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, and I decided I want to go back to school and do my Master's of Fine Arts because I never did finish that creative writing program that I didn't really start when I got a scholarship years ago. But let's talk about you. We are experiencing a full moon in the sign of Virgo, and Virgo is our 8th house of taxes. We're illuminating that part of our chart. Tell me all about it. I've been in conversations with my accountant in the last week or two. And this is a full light. It gives us a fullness. And we started seeing seeds in our tax house, our investments house, our house of death and rebirth, our house of our chunky money we share with another. We planted a seed there in September. Now the full nut light is in that part of our sky, lighting the way. Now it is in a flowing, lucky relationship to Jupiter in the house of domestic private life, home, property, land, legacy wealth. There's certainly a possibility that this could indicate some kind of chunky inheritance money coming to you in the 2 weeks or 6 months that follows, or a lucky stock investment, or an ability to buy or sell real estate, okay? Or refinance current real estate in a very fortunate and lucky way. The moon rules the house of rentals for you. Again, luck in real estate, property, land, and rentals, 2 weeks that follow, 6 months that follow. Good things are happening here. But you also have this moon opposite Saturn in the house of earnings. Let's face it, Aquarius, we've been feeling like since March of 2023, not to end until February of 26, we're working hard to conserve our money, save our money, and to not spend all of our money. And also we're working hard on new structures for our income and possessions. Saturn has been giving us the gift of this lesson, and he will continue to do that until 2026. But all that hard work and structure and stuff is like maybe heavy, like wearing, I don't know, rocks in your shoes while you're swimming. And it's kind of hard, and vitality can be low, and you might feel depleted here as this full moon comes into form around February 24th. At that same time, with Mercury as the lunation lord in the house of earnings, bringing you new ideas for commercial success, yet in a sign of his detriment and not paying attention to the details, this could be a time of overspending despite all of your Saturnian constraint. Watch for that. February 24th, add 2 weeks or 6 months. Saturn here can represent the sense of having to constrain the food that you ingest or the things that you drink and what you put in your mouth. And you may be dealing with that sense of having to curtail those matters in the 2 weeks that follows and the 6 months that follow, especially with Saturn ruling your house of addictions and self-undoing. So you're really sitting squarely with the psychological, psycho-spiritual elements of bad food and dietary habits and styles and constraining it for your better vitality, perhaps. Ultimately, I mean, with Saturn and the moon flowing to Jupiter in your 4th house, everything you're doing about your home life, property, and real estate is going to be very, very prosperous, abundant, and lucky. And that can be a lucky opportunity to buy a property, to possess money, to spend money in a conservative way, to buy a property in the 6 months that follows this lunation. The square to Athena is putting you at a critical turning point with a friend, a group of friendships, a network of belonging, or a critical turning point regarding strategy and how you earn your money and how you create great career gains from your career directly. So you're squaring away with critical turning point decisions around your greater career gains and your longer range monies, including taxes and your earnings and savings strategies. And this moon is bringing you into a strategic development in the 2 weeks that follow. For me, should I incorporate or not? Should I move to a lower a lower tax bracket country than my 50% that I'm going to hit if I continue at this rate. So those are examples as an Aquarius rising. Also, strategic turning point decisions with an elder sibling could be coming up for anyone with an elder sibling in the next 2 weeks after this full moon. All right, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. A full moon is lighting up the sky in Virgo. This is your marriage house, your significant partner, your business partners, and legal contracts and agreements. You're looking at a full light here. You saw a new moon in this part of your sky in September, the 14th, add 2 weeks. Now here it is again. What are the narratives that you're dealing with regarding long-term committed business and love partnerships? A full moon here is opening your eyes to something and helping you focus on it, but it can be a fullness in the life of a significant other in business or love. So it may not even all be about you. They may be coming to some level of fulfillment. Now we see Jupiter luck flowing to this lunation, a full moon trip. Opportunity to travel in the 6 months or 2 weeks after the moon with a significant partner. If you're single, maybe a beginning of a new relationship that was seeded in September, but fullness is coming to it and new levels of commitment or new levels of ability to connect. I don't know. Travel is definitely involved, though, when Jupiter and Uranus are in the 3rd house, revolving around significant relationships. You guess you could meet someone in the 2 weeks by traveling and, come into a new relationship for single Pisces. Non-single Pisces, so this would be fulfilling another layer of an existing relationship that may have been seeded in September. Possibly with this Saturn energy, you're realistic, sober-minded, serious about everything in your life right now, and you're looking at your relationship with that eyeball of seriousness. Jupiter is blessing the way you look at it, but you're looking at it squarely across the way. If you are in any potential sense of wanting to take the reins of this relationship in business or love and to be sort of the boss of the situation, you have the capacity to do that, Pisces, to really own the space of that relationship, to make decisions with that person because you're leading the way. Also, you may have an lucky opportunity to travel with a friend who's a childhood friend or a sibling who you can travel with given the sky, both younger and older because of the rulership of Saturn of your 11th house. Travel opportunities to plan or take a trip with siblings for some Pisces risings coming up 2 weeks and 6 months after this moon. You're ruled by Jupiter. He's got your back in the 3rd house of travel, trips, and the online world. I'd say a lot of you are looking at this moon giving you a couple of weeks after and up to 6 months after of increased prosperity if you do business in a 3rd house way. You have a local shop, a local restaurant, or you do online business endeavors, especially with Venus squaring Jupiter in the house of borderless revenue. If you work online, this can indicate some increase in your online revenue in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow this moon for those of you who do that kind of thing. And when I talked about traveling with siblings, there's a possibility of travel could take you abroad, connecting to siblings, but also just local travel as well. So more domestic travel. A T-square to your 10th house of career and reputation from this moon is putting you into a critical turning point regarding what you want to achieve in your career and reputation space. And you're going to make some powerful, sober-minded, and realistic decisions about how you would like to reach your audience, market, client place, or what you want to do in your career as a strategic victory. And you're looking at those matters very squarely over the next 2 weeks and 6 months that follow the full moon. I hope some of that was at least somewhat useful for most of us. I'm finishing this recording up for my Patreon community on February 10th. They're going to get this early access ad-free content, plus 1 to 3 meetings with me a month in my Patreon community. I even teach classes there. If you want to meet me off this platform, check it out for a mere $5 a month. You get to watch these videos without the ads, why the hell not? So check me out in my Patreon community. You're getting 2 free readings. I'm leaving that open with me. 2 free readings, 2 free courses. Synastry, the key to purpose, and Chiron, the key to purpose, and Synastry, are you my person? I taught those classes already, but you get free replays on my Patreon community of those 2 courses when you sign up. That's a giveaway to tempt you to try me out on Patreon. This girl is going to take a nice walk at the end of her day. It's 4 o'clock. And maybe have a glass of wine. I'm on a tracking app. It's called Sunnyside. I think it's from Australia, and it helps you track your how many drinks you have a week. And I'm doing my wine lover's middle way right now. I'm not drinking at all really much. Last week was better than this week. 3 glasses of wine last week, kind of thing. And now I'm like not quite meeting my quota of 4. I'm gonna have, if I have a glass of wine, it's gonna be 5. But I'm telling you guys, I'm trying to find the middle way. And if anybody's listening to this ramble at the end of this video and you've loved wine, and you've been, as a woman, I've been through Sober Sisters, Annie Grace's This Naked Mind, and I've been exploring for years to find that beautiful balance when it comes to the love of wine pairing with food, the love of wine with dinner, the love of wine. I got asteroid Dionysius and Bacchus on my Venus and Mars. You can't make this up. And so I come by it authentically. Years ago, I saw a kahuna from Hawaii who told me I was a Roman senator plying my trade with wine, red wine in particular. And that's why ancient Rome, why I still love wine. I think of wine as a element of my reality. Oh, by the way, I'm into earrings, and there's an indigenous guy from Canada, from Quebec, who made this beautiful owl with a feather earring. And I'll put a link to his description to his Instagram below. No, I don't get any money for that. And this is also made by a local artist in Ontario. And so I just love to buy art from local people and support their work by sharing their work. So if you want to check out this particular fella, his YouTube, his Instagram handle is like Indigenous Arts, I think, and I'll put a link to his Instagram in my description box. All right. Thanks everybody for hanging in there with this video, and have a wonderful full moon in Virgo. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And I'm done my long work day. Clients, videos, back end stuff, running my newsletter, getting it out, getting it done. Bye.